So we are going to go ahead and get started. We know we have one commissioner that needs to leave us at 7, right? Okay, so we want to be respectful of that because he has to go handle school board business. Amen? Amen. All right. So our first question, and it's going to be for 2 minutes, is going to be, so we are going to go ahead and get started. We know we have one commissioner that needs to leave us at 7, right? Okay, so we want, or no? Because he has to go handle. Okay, so we'll start with Commissioner Patterson and just move to his left.
Thank you. Again, my name is James Patterson. I'm running because I'm one of the most qualified individuals, in the district at this point in time. So I have 27 years in law enforcement, state police as an investigator. I retired in 2010. I went back to school, obtained my master's degree in education, and became a certified teacher. So I've taught at BOCES, I taught in the district, I was a counselor at MCC, and I taught in a private school. But a lot of my teaching is in career and technical education, in which we know today that's what we're trying to drive our kids toward if they don't want or wish to go to college, so that they have a skill. So again, literacy is my background. I studied extensively in that area, and again, with my entire background, I think I'm one of the most qualified individuals. That being said, at this point in time, I like to state that I don't even know if I'm going to be on the ballot because of shenanigans down at the Board of Elections that myself and Trent Jackson advised us to file wrongly. We should have filed together. They told us to file separately, and therefore they threw out a number of our ballots. So you might not even see my name in the primary. So I'm obtaining an attorney, and I'm fighting this. If I don't win, at least the public will know the shenanigans that are conducted by our Democratic Party. They're truly not for our kids. If you're looking to remove a person like me from the board who is highly qualified, I'm quiet, but I get my work done in the background. I do a lot of good work quietly. Sometimes you don't want the enemy to know what you're doing, right? So that being said, I got less than 10 seconds, right? So some of the things we've done this year, new board leadership.
I'm sorry. The question is, what are your qualifications? So you can tell us about the qualifications too? Or?
No, I think I'm good.
You good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to make sure we stick that. And we're going to get to those points. You're going to be able to share all of that stuff. So again, the question is, just introduce yourself and tell us why. What are your qualifications for the school board position?
Well, I'm Vince Felton. For 6 years, I was the county legislator representing District 22. I was the person who submitted the legislation that changed the name of the airport to honor Frederick Douglass. The community had been talking about it for over 20 years, and I submitted the legislation and got it done. We also passed legislation called Gantt Law, which forced the county to create a minority certification program and to actually enforce their requirements in terms of hiring and contracting. We put some teeth into it. They had a goal that was in the law, but they weren't following it for years. We made sure that we actually put some teeth into that to make sure that was followed. We also made sure money got to community organizations who weren't being funded by the county. Some of our arts programs, some of the football teams, and other things, because we were trying to help the community and help keep children off the street and out of trouble. And so, that's my background. I always say and tell a story. I'm a poor kid who grew up poor, and education is what got me out of poverty. And I believe that it's important for us to make sure that we do everything we can to give these children teeth into it. They have things the street and out of trouble. And so, that's my background. I always say and tell a story. I'm a poor kid who grew up poor, and education is what got me out of poverty. And the prison increased exponentially. We want to cut that off and get our children on the right track.
Is it working for you, Heather?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm a singer. I could project appreciate you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, that's a big difference. So I'm a parent in the district. I'm also somebody who has worked very hard in the district to advocate for our children on multiple levels. I've worked with Healthy Kids to work in policy change and enact things like recess for our children. I helped start with my children, I say I'm their chauffeur, the League of Future Voters. I'm a Cub Scout master in the city. I work with the kids a lot. I listen to what the kids need and what the kids are saying, and I enact policy and look for change in that. We brought a lot of things together through Healthy Kids and with policy change and enacting what we thought was important. And then we asked the kids what they thought was important. So I've done a lot of policy work. I've done a lot of work with the kids. I was a PTA president at Wilson. I was a PTA president at school number 2, which is no longer there. I watched the closing of school number 2 and school number 3, where my children were both attending, and I watched the Southwest be attacked over and over and neglected over and over and over again. And I asked, what can I do? Over and over and over again, and they said the problems are on the board. So I said, okay, here I go. I want to be part of the solution, so I'm going to get on the board.
Good evening, everyone. All right, there we go. Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing this evening? My name is Kareem McCullough, and what makes me qualified to be on the school board? Well, I'm a former teacher. I'm a certified special education teacher. I started here in Rochester, graduated from SUNY Brockport, graduated from Benjamin Franklin High School. I'm a native boy. I taught here in Rochester for 5 years. Then I went on to New York City, where I got my master's in education, where I taught special education as a New York teaching fellow. I then continued my education and got my master's degree in leadership and education. I became a special education coordinator, as well as a transition coordinator and a testing coordinator. From there, I went to Abu Dhabi, where I was a lead English teacher, as well as the head of middle grades. From that point, I came back to Rochester. I worked as a Spanish teacher, as I was doing some educational consulting. And then I went over to China, where I became the head of academics at a private school. Once the pandemic hit, I returned back to Rochester, where I then became an assistant principal and a principal at a charter school. Currently, I am an educational consultant, where I go and I work with teachers and administrators in schools. I help them become better teachers by improving on their practices, and I help principals and administrators become better administrators by improving on their practices. So I am the only person running and currently on the board that has administrative actual experience and understands policy and understands what educational law is. That is the only person on the board with those experiences, and that would be me. Thank you. Oh yeah, of course.
Hello, everyone. I apologize for my tardiness. Helping the kids out at Baker Street. Baker Street do exist. Want to make sure the kids have food before the storm comes. The reason why I am qualified, just like my colleague, graduated from Benjamin Franklin High School. As I graduated from Benjamin Franklin High School, I attended The Ohio State University. I have 3 sisters that also graduated from Benjamin Franklin High School that attended Syracuse University, Michigan State University, and Johnson C. Smith University. I am a native of Rochester. I'm a smart kid and I'm a Baker Street kid at the same time. I lived on the west side in the 19th Ward. I grew up on the east side with my mother as an administrator at Baker Street Settlement. I understand the importance of programs that is lacking in our schools. I've been on the front line fighting. Trying to address the school board. As I worked at, I volunteered at Franklin when we had kids asking for things that they weren't given. Basically, we were saying that wasn't in the school budget. And for me standing outside, allowing that to happen, I felt that I had to do something. And that's one reason why I am running for school board, for the simple fact that if it wasn't for programs, if anybody knows back in the days, from rec centers to high schools, you always had something to do after school and during school. And when I saw that these kids didn't have that and they're asking for it, that was disheartening. And when I was told that it wasn't in the budget for these kids to have programs such as student government, you know, that's disheartening. When I asked 60 boys that want to have a football team and they're told no, they have to catch the bus somewhere else. That's disheartening. So I'm here for the kids. I'm here fighting for the kids. That's my main thing. If I didn't have people fighting for me back in the days, I wouldn't have been able to do the things that I did. So that's why I'm here, and I know for a fact that I can be on the school board and do what I have to do for the kids.
Thank you. This next question, you'll have 2 minutes, and the next question is, what would you identify are the top needs for Rochester City School District? Anyone who wants to start?
To identify, I would say first of all, we have to change the face of the school board. With a dysfunctional school board, you have a dysfunctional school. You have dysfunctional schools. First, that's the one thing we have to do is change the face of the school board and have the school board actually investing inside the kids. Like I said, I don't want to go into a burning building with a fire extinguisher. We talk about a lot of things, but we don't talk about changing the system. The system is right now, it's not a failing system, it's a system that's failing. I mean, it's not a system that's failing, it's a failing system. People have to understand the difference in that. And we have to change the system because this system is not designed for our kids to succeed. Every year after year after year, I guarantee if you've been coming, you've been hearing the same things over and over and promises from the same or different people over and over and over again. We need some people that's going to really stand up and want to fight against the system. Because we got to change the system. This system is working exactly how it's designed to work. This system is not designed for our kids to succeed. And that's the bottom line. We have to get people there that's willing to say, okay, what's going on? Where's the money going? Let's start following the money. Why every year we keep on getting, we losing money, but we keep putting the same people in the places? When we gonna start saying, okay, we need an external audit? When we gonna start saying, okay, are these programs that are receiving money, are they doing anything for our kids? What's the scale of success for these programs that are getting money for our kids? We don't know. Most of the programs that's out there, we don't even know. So we need people that's not gonna follow the system, not gonna be puppets, not gonna join the system. We need some people that's gonna fight against the system, because this system is not designed for our kids, and we need to change that.
So the question was, what are some of the top needs for Rochester City School District? So I jotted down 3 points that came to mind. First is we need a superintendent that's going to be committed, that's going to stay. And in order for that to happen, we need a cohesive school board. We need a board that understands what is going on and understands their role as a school board. Their role is to create policy and to allow the superintendent autonomy to actually get those policies out and set the procedures and set the practices that are needed for the running of the district. The third thing we need policies that are focused on kids. As a school board, I know everyone says it's about the kids. Well, if it's truly about the kids, then we need to create policies that are about the kids. And once we have strong, effective policies, then we can lead to effective programming. Then that can lead to teacher improvement, and then that can lead to sustainable actions. We can't have anything without this chain of action. So we need school board members that understand their role and understand what it is that they are assigned to do. And that is to create policy in order for the superintendent to run this district.
I agree that policy is what our focus has to be, but we also need to make sure that we're focusing on the kids, and the kids have to be part of the policy. I think we should bring more voices in. I think that we, as board members, we are given a set of schools to visit. I did not see our board member in any of our schools, and I was in 4 schools. And when speaking to one of the board members, they said one of the parents said they went into the bathroom at Franklin, and it was so disgusting that they couldn't understand why they were hosting this beautiful play. And there was a beautiful play, a beautiful show, and the bathrooms were gross. And the board member said, really? And I said, they hadn't been there. And I think that's one of the things that we also need to bring back to the board. Our job is policy, like you said, but we also need to see what's going on. We need to be there. We need to go into the schools. We need to see what's happening, and we need to be in touch. And I think that's why, as a parent, I've seen it. I've had kids in 4 different schools. I've seen the disparities in children in 23 and a child number 2 and now 25. The disparities are astounding. We need to find out why that's happening and make policy to change that so that we have equitable schooling throughout the district. That's one of the things we really need to make sure that policy is true. And I like the new superintendent. He asks questions. He's already hosting, what do you call them, campfires, so that he can talk to parents. And I think that's something that we need to do. We need to talk to parents, we need to talk to the kids, we need to see what's going on so that when we make the policies, they are for and about the children.
Well, when you look at the state of the district, they're having among the lowest 4, 5, and 6 year graduation rates in the state, the lowest math and ELA rates in the state, test scores in the state. We need to focus on literacy. The number one thing we need to focus on is literacy, early literacy. I spoke about that when I opened the statements. We have to make sure children are reading on grade level by 3rd grade so they can read to learn. Instead of going through the system, getting all the way through the system in some cases, getting high school diplomas and don't know how to read. And this is a real phenomenon. And I'm sure at least one of us knows somebody who came through this district, got a high school diploma, and probably can't read. And that's not good. What that means is we are giving students false hope. And we basically put the fraud on society by telling them, because when you give a student a diploma, it says they met certain standards and qualifications, and they don't have it. That's a problem, because they can't fill out job applications. We had a situation where I think Isaac a few years ago had a program where they were going to give HVAC training to students, and they wanted the students to the city school district, but they couldn't do 8th grade math. We have to fix that problem. It also goes to parent engagement, because our parents are not engaged. The district does not have a real parent engagement program. They do these programs here and there, but there's no real effort to really get parents engaged. Which also goes to the next problem, is neighborhood schools. You have kids going to school all over the city. They live on one side of the city. I tell a story. When I was one of the daycare students, I was picking up a student who lived across from 50 school, taking him to number 35 school every morning. That didn't make any sense. But because we don't have quality schools in every neighborhood, we have that problem. So we really have to look at what it takes to really get our children to read, which is going to require community schools, parent engagement, and a real focus on literacy as the building block of everything we do with our kids in the district.
Okay, just to correct the statement that was made earlier, I had extensive experience in policy. I was also the executive director for Rochester Youth for Christ before I came to the district. I've been to the district, in the district for 3 years, my 4th year, dealing with policy, creating policy, and voting on policy through resolutions. Some of our accomplishments, we talk about the things that you want to see change. I think the community doesn't know some of the things we've already done within the last 6 months. A new board leadership, for example. You asked for that, we gave you that. A new superintendent, doing the superintendent search. One who's qualified, highly qualified, and who's agreed to stay for a minimum of 5 years and just purchase a house in our area to be committed to the district. We have a new governance model that we're also monitored by the Council of Great City Schools. It's a student outcomes focused government, so it focuses primarily on students. A committee diet. The board wanted to, the prior board leadership wanted to control areas of the district. That's not our job. We're not administrators. We're governance. So we shouldn't have board members over certain areas, for example, human resources, finances. The only thing by state law that we have to be over is budget. And I oversee budget myself as a chairman. We have SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, attainable, and timely. So those are some of the things we've run in the last 6 months. Top needs, parental involvement, getting kids back to school, community engagement, literacy, meaning reading on grade level, graduating on time, college or career readiness, a new way of teaching and learning for this new generation, perform an internal audit to see where the money's gone, policy, fiduciary responsibility, those are our jobs, and safe schools that are conducive to learning. If we can't have safe classrooms, it's very difficult for our students to learn. So we must find a way, to make sure those classrooms are safe.
That's a big list.
Yes.
Top needs, right now, current needs. All right, did y'all candidates hear that? That's a big list. I mean, that's a lot to have to work on.
We have big issues.
Yeah, all right, we're gonna do a community question. Let's see.
Okay. What is your view to funding public education through alternative means other than through property taxes? Did everyone get that?
Question again, please.
What is your view to funding public education through alternative methods or means other than through property taxes?
Okay, so when you think of public education, a lot of the funding comes from the state, comes from the federal government. Very little comes from the federal government. We still get a lot of funding from the federal government and the state, and it comes generated from property taxes and other taxes that the state and the federal government generates. My view on should this be coming from alternative sources? Of course it should. Most districts, they run as a corporation. And because they run as a corporation, they're allowed to accept funding from other and individual private funds. So we should be looking for and soliciting private corporations and other entities to give to our students and to give to our schools. I don't think that is a far-fetched idea. It's something that actually can't happen. There are organizations and people, individuals who give funds to schools all the time. Sometimes they dedicate those funds to certain schools, certain projects, or certain types of programs and initiatives. But it is something that can be done. We just have to vocalize that that's something that we would want to see more often from some of these organizations and corporations that are working and living and functioning in our communities.
I'd like to say also that while the basic of our school programming, it may, the bulk of it, it's millions of dollars, is probably going to still be from our state government. But the programs that these kids need, I watched the school number 2 transform when a church took over. And the church didn't come in and take over. The church came over and took over the extra programs, the Christmas party. They made sure that the kids had jackets. They made sure the kids had book bags. The church came in and helped uplift the school. And whenever there was a program, the church members came in and volunteered. So watching that firsthand, seeing school number 2 transform with the church's help, and then also my child went to Encompass Navigation for a minute, and it was incredible to see what Encompass did for the navigation school. We watched the school transform and the families be uplifted when they were surrounded with supportive care. And those are the kind of programs that we need to reach out to the community and uplift our students with.
Great question, whoever. Thank you for bringing that question up, because I believe that it should be funded more than just within the city, but the funding is not the problem. It's about how money is being spent. Let's be real. I'm not about to come here and tell you what I think you want me to say. The problem is how the money is being spent. We need to find people and put people in positions that's going to spend the money right. Right now, at this moment, going on at the school, city school, at the Board of Education, you've got WDKX fighting for their school because their school was a success. But what the city school district decided to do is take away their staff, basically make their successful school more difficult for them to do things that they were doing. Instead of asking them what did they do to become a success, and then implementing that throughout the district. So you just don't have success, and then you just throw all the bad things on top of success. I've seen successful programs get torn away by the city school district. I was talking to a lady, she's 81 years old, nationally known. She's a nurse. I'm not gonna say her name at this moment, but for 3 decades, she was trying to get a nursing program within the city school district, and they wouldn't allow her. For 3 decades, this lady is nationally known. So my thing is, as I said before, funding is not the problem. The problem is the system. Because let me tell you this, you get more money for your kids' failing. So I look at our kids as our kids are being sacrificed. Our kids are truly being sacrificed for the money. Because everything that I have seen be successful has been torn down. And those are the things that we have to find out why when we have successful programs. Why are we not implementing these throughout the district? Why are we doing everything that we can to tear them down?
We need to clarify something. Only the Rochester City School District's budget is over $1 billion, and only $119 million of that comes from city taxpayers and property taxes. That's based on a law that was passed in some effort. The city is required every year to give the school district $119 million. The rest of the money in the district comes from the federal government, the state government form foundation aid, the federal government, mostly Title I money, and from grants. So most of the district is not being funded by property taxes, because we are actually in a poor city with a low tax base, and so we don't have the kind of money that they have in our suburban areas where they can really fund their district through property taxes. We basically fund it through money from the state and the federal government. And I do agree that there's a lot of money that's not being spent properly. But I think we need to do a forensic audit of the city budget, of the district budget, to find out what exactly is being done, the contracts that are being handed out, are they being effective? People just give people money because they're our friends, whatever it is. We need to find out how we put as much money as possible in the classrooms to help our children, because that's where the money needs to belong. It needs to be with our kids, but we need to know where the money's coming from. It's not coming from the city taxpayers for the most part.
Did everyone get a chance to respond? Are you saying yes?
I did.
Oh, you did, okay.
Okay. So,
And then, can I just ask you, since you are a commissioner, can you tell us, and this is not to put you on the spot, or if you can estimate, but can you tell us how much money the district actually gets from the federal government?
I can't be exact, to be honest with you. I know
Okay.
it's a large amount,
Okay,
but I couldn't be specific
Okay,
right
yeah.
now. But that being said, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So, cost-saving measures is big for me. In the state police, we're more proactive opposed to being reactive. So I'm always thinking of solutions to our problems. So for me, again, I work quietly in the background, and I work on cost-saving measures. I wish I had my district phone with me right now. I just texted the incoming superintendent yesterday with these facts. So again, Ben said forensic audit. I've asked for that for 3 years on the board, that a forensic audit be done on the entire district. And with that prior leadership, I couldn't even get a conversation. Now with the new leadership, we're going to be doing that. We're top heavy. So we have a lot of positions that were created underneath the prior leadership or superintendent. Directors made executive directors, and friends, relatives, nepotism, cronyism, favoritism, put in those positions. So I asked that they be taken away. We could save today $78 million in 1 year if we dealt with medical insurance and taking out the middleman. These are facts. We have the numbers. I have the data that shows that in 1 year, that could be a cost-saving measure. In 10 years, multiply that. And all that money would be coming back to the district. We know that the federal government is more than likely going to be taking away funding. I've thought of a way to create that funding, through doing something like this. And a 4-day work week. Maryland has a school district that during the summer only, they have a 4-day work week. And the employees are asked to either take or work longer work days, or 2 hours more a day, Monday through Thursday, or on Friday, take a vacation day. That in itself would save millions. And I'm trying to get the numbers on that at this point in time. So those are two things that I work on behind the scenes that no one really knows about. trying to save this district millions, multi-millions. And again, we don't sometimes want to know, want the devil to know or the enemy to know, what we're doing. So I do my work quietly, and I get a lot of results. So I thank the God, I thank our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for allowing me or putting me or planting me in a position to do His work. Thank you.
Okay. So what is your view to funding public education through alternative means other than property taxes? Was that the last, right? I'm gonna ask you that, Commissioner.
Yeah.
So how will you answer that in 30 seconds?
Yeah, 30 seconds, because I did, but I'll go back over it. I've already thought of this, and I'm working on this. Medical insurance, taking out the middleman. The data has already been done, the numbers have already been acquired from the district, and it's on paper. I can show you tomorrow exactly what I have and the numbers and how much we'd be saving each year for the next 10 years, and it's astronomical. So that'd be number one. And again, experiment with a 4-day work week. Yes, that's a union issue that we'd have to talk to the union, but we can bargain, right? That's a bargaining agreement. So give them something and they give us something, right? They want East. They want one more year at East and the EPA to stand the way it is, right? So with Adam Urbanski, if you want one more year, your people want one more year to leave East alone. And I wasn't for touching East, first of all, because I think that's a gem for us. So I was the only board member to vote to leave East as it was. But that being said, if we could reach an agreement to save multi-millions for our kids, that's a win-win. But oftentimes, student outcomes, our kids are not the priority. Sometimes politics become the priority. So that's what.
Can I make a comment real quick on what he just said? Super quick.
Actually, I'm gonna say we're gonna keep moving because that's the structure and the format, okay? But if you wanna write it down and do it in your closing, you can do it in your closing when we get to the closing for 1 minute if you wanna say something else, but I just wanna keep moving on because we wanna make sure we get through the community questions. So this next question has to do with you, folks, that you hit on the federal government, funding from the federal government. So we know if that happens and there is a cut in the funds, we said that a lot of money comes from the federal government. What is your plan to make up the gap? What's your plan and the strategy to make sure that the system doesn't,
collapse.
as a result of not having that federal funding? And this question is not something that should be a surprise to folks because we had Project 2025 out there for quite some time. And a lot of community members were wondering how was the district going to be preparing itself when Project 2025 hit us locally and funds were snatched from the district. So just wondering, 30 seconds, do you have a plan? Anybody wants to go
If you're
first?
asking me
30
again.
seconds. 30 seconds. You can repeat it again if you have something to add to it. 30 seconds. What's your plan?
That is my plan. I'm working on a plan. I've already submitted it to the superintendent himself personally, right? In person. I had a conversation with him last night, and I sent it initially by text. So he has my plan. That's our job as governance, not to do the superintendent's work, but to come up with the ideas, right? The solutions, and then pose them to him and allow him as the administrator to work on those ideas.
Well, I believe that right now, as the board is preparing their budget, they ought to be building those contingencies into the budget right now, just in case. But the good thing is, the president has been stopped in the courts, and I don't think the Congress I don't think a lot of Republicans in Congress have the wherewithal to cut these funds because they'll be cutting their own communities, because the people who get the most money from the federal government are in Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, heavily red states. But I do think that the board should have, and right now, as they're preparing the budget, should be building contingencies into the budget to prepare for the possibility of those cuts.
We also have to be prepared for schools like Rochester School for the Deaf closing. We have to be ready to absorb these children who are at the Rochester City School District, who are at the School for the Blind. These schools are going to be closing because they've already closed the DEI funding, and schools all around the country are closing already. And we have to be ready to absorb them, and I'm looking forward to working with people who have the information that work with special education, like Kareem has already done that, and making sure that we're ready and prepared for the increase in influx of students.
I think the most important thing for us to prepare is to have a board that's cohesive, that's ready to collaborate with each other and come up with the best thing for our kids. We can't prepare by ourselves. I can't sit here and give you a promise and say this is what we should do. No, I gotta be with a board that's willing to work together, and that's the most important part. So, in order to prepare for 2025, in reality, I feel that our school district has been in 2025 already, because we are a failing school district, and our kids are failing, and it's been going on so long. We so quick to say our parents not cooperating, our parents not with our kids. Our parents are results of a failing school district as well. So we have to find a way to reach out to the parents that was a part of this failing school district. So it's a lot more going on than just answering that question.
So really quickly, first of all, 82% of the funds for school comes from the state. That's about 8% of it comes from the federal government. So what is a plan that we can do looking at what's happening and the things that are coming down from the federal government? So one is we need to have a rainy day fund. We need to have money set aside, which the school district does have actually. We have money set aside to help us cushion the blow that may be coming from the federal government and any cuts in funding. The second thing is to prioritize our spending. We need to understand where our money is going and how we're spending it. Lastly, we need to review the protocols and policies for choosing outside organizations and the contracts that we have to find out where we're getting the best return of our investment and where we're getting something that's lacking, and get rid of those that's not being effective and useful for our community and for our district, and start getting some that's going to actually give us a better return on investment. Thank you.
We're gonna have another community question, and we'll give this one 30 seconds.
What do you tell parents who believe that there is no political solution to improving our schools other than involving homeschooling, our churches, and charter schools? This is where things seems to be headed. Do you want me to repeat that, or? That's one. So what do you tell parents who believe that there is no political solution to improving our schools other than involving homeschooling, our churches, and charter schools? This is where things seem to be headed.
Go ahead.
No, you.
I've seen this. I took my daughter out of the public school and I put her in a charter school. There are no programs. The schools that are charter schools are focused only on education. The well-rounded student is what also we need for our children. They need to be well-rounded, they need to be embraced by the community, and they need to be uplifted by the community. We have to have that in our schools. And so I warn and caution people who are in a charter school that the kids are missing out. Homeschools don't have the diversity that uplifts our children. We need to bring them back and have them uplifted by the community, and we need to work on community programs, but we need to keep them in our schools.
So I'll respond to that also. Politics should never have a place in decision-making in the school district when it comes to our kids. The kids should always be our priority and what's best for those students. I myself, I don't take any money from political PACs. I pay for my campaign out of my pocket because I don't want to be bought and paid for by any entity. 5 seconds. Oh, sorry. Again, as long as we focus on the new governance model, which is student outcomes focused, our students should start and begin doing better, reading on grade level, again, graduating on time, getting them to come to school, being college or career ready. And this with this new board, I'm asking you if I have an opportunity to go back to the board, to continue doing the work that we're doing right now. Thank you.
I'll go next. the guy. Politics is definitely in the city school district. And it should not be with our kids. It is definitely, and I'm trying not to be a politician. Every day I wake up, I said this in the video, I have to tell myself this is for the kids. Because if you don't tell yourself this is for the kids, you will get into politics, because that's what they care about, the politics. And I think I forgot the question, talking about that. But, what was the question?
Let me read through it. Let me say it for you again. What do you tell parents who believe that there is no political solution to improving our schools other than involving homeschools, our churches, and charter schools? This is where things seem to be headed.
Well, I believe all parents should have a choice, but I also believe there shouldn't be competition. We should be collaborating with each other. I don't care if it's homeschools, churches, charter schools. We should be collaborating to find out what's the most successful program for our kids. Instead of fighting with each other, saying you're taking money, you're doing this, you're doing that. No, this is for our kids. If we collaborate, we can come up with something that's successful. But that's only if we're working in a system that want our kids to succeed.
So when you say collaborate how? What do you?
Well, for instance, all charter schools are not successful. All city school district schools are not successful. We know that city school district was failing before charter schools came, but you do have some successful charter schools. You do have some charter schools that's having trades for our kids. So instead of competing against the charter school and arguing with the charter schools saying y'all taking our money, those charter schools that are successful, we need to talk to them and find out what is their success so we can implement that in the city school district. That's how you collaborate instead of competing with each other.
So we got new governance, collaboration with charter schools.
Collaboration with everyone, not just charter schools, everyone.
Everyone. Meaning community-based organization, is that what you're saying? That's what I mean by collaboration. You going on? Okay.
I'm going to shout out Brother Howard Eagle. He has a solution, is that the community has to get involved in the schools. You can't keep complaining about the schools and not being involved and saying, well, the schools this. We keep electing the same people who haven't done anything, aren't doing anything. We elect people who are incompetent, elect people who don't know how to act, and all these other things. And then we complain about the system. The system is bad because of who's in charge of it. So the way to fix it is to put the right people in place. But you can't keep saying it's bad, and we're the ones who vote and decide who gets elected, and we're not doing our job to the extent I think we should. We let teachers union tell us who to vote for. We got all these things, and we keep complaining about it. It's like, when are we as the residents of the city going to take control of our school district? Something happens here, they would never allow what happens in this city to happen in Penfield, Fairport, Brighton. That's why their school districts are so great, because the community decides who's in charge.
Okay. Everybody has
No, let me really quick. So the question was, how do we reassure a parent who thinks that politics are in the schools and that, the other options are churches, charter schools, and other things? How do we reassure them? We reassure that parent by showing them what's going well within the city school districts. There are programs, there are things that are happening that are really, really good, and they're not highlighted. The communication department doesn't do a really good job of letting the community know, hey, this is happening. Did you know they have a whole cosmetology program over at Monroe High School that they're trying to put together? That will be happening next school year. These are the things that we need to be showcasing to reaffirm that our city school district is actually trying to make improvements for our community and for our kids. That's how I would like to reassure a parent that this is the best option.
So, follow up to what you just said, someone gave statistics earlier about the outcome. Reading, math, literacy, those percentages and where our students are, graduation rates. So, with what you're saying, highlighting the good things that are happening, but I think people want to see their kids be able to graduate to read and write and be successful citizens when they're in the community. So with what you're saying, highlight the good things, but I think even with those programs that you're talking about, when we put that and compare that to the outcome and what's happening when it comes to reading, writing, literacy, math, it's not working.
Right? That's an unfair assessment.
Okay.
I would say that's an unfair assessment. The reason why it's an unfair assessment.
Let me do this. Someone, and I'm not sure who it was, earlier did statistics up here, right? Who did those statistics for us? Can you repeat them?
We're at the bottom, basically. Math, English language arts, and by any measure, we're at the bottom or near the bottom. Graduation rates, everything, we're at the bottom. And the only entity the community can hold accountable is the board. The board hires the superintendent. We don't have to, the community doesn't hire teachers, they don't hire the superintendent, the board does. The board is responsible for the outcomes in this district. And the board has not been held accountable for these outcomes. And that's why people are so frustrated, because the only people they can look at is the board, but then the conundrum is they keep electing the same board members. So the only way to fix the problem is to change, not that all board members are bad, but there's a collective problem with the board that's going back decades. This infighting that we've seen spill out this year is not new. We just they did a better job keeping it on the ground in the past. We have a problem with the school board, and it has to be fixed because nothing is going to work in this district until you fix that board.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
I'd also like to say, I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna give you 20 seconds to respond.
I have 3 children who could read and still dropped out. I have 3 children who can read and are struggling. They're not struggling with reading and writing. The teachers are phenomenal. They're not being supported in different ways. And we have to go back to what policies are not making these children want to be in school. Why are these children not in school? What are they afraid of? Why are they not in the buildings? What is going on in the school that these kids don't want to be there?
So would you mind being more detailed with that when you say they're not being supported in specific ways? Because you're running for school board. What exactly are you? Can you pinpoint that? Let me know exactly what it is.
I could talk for hours about this. I have 2.
Well, just give us about 5.
So I had 2 children who had special needs, who, when finally were tested, found out that they had disabilities. They were asked to be supported. It took us forever to get that support in place. And then once the support was in place, it never happened. We would go, we would complain, we'd go, complain, go, complain. It never got fixed. It got to the point where she said, I cannot do this anymore. It is affecting my mental health, and had to drop out. She can read, she can write, she can do all of those things. She's an incredible kid. She can't handle school because she was not supported in the ways that she needed to be supported. So it's not that she couldn't read, it's that the mental health couldn't handle what was going on in the school districts. The amount of, we can talk forever about what things.
Well, be specific. Give me a category like mental health, mental health support.
Mental health support and 504 support.
Okay.
Those are the things that we're lacking. And when we went to the school district and we said, okay, they dropped out, what do we do next? It was like, well, they're GED programs. No, they're not. They couldn't give us specifics, they couldn't give us the ideas, they couldn't give them a clear path from what to follow. It was working with kids who were dealing with the trauma of not being in school.
Trauma, okay.
And COVID, we're going to go back to COVID, it was very traumatizing for these kids. And we're coming to a point now where the kids who had COVID, they were little. So that it's starting to beat out some of that trauma. But there are the kids that are in high school now, very much so have that trauma. They didn't learn how to sit in a classroom, and now they're expected to do that. They didn't learn how to do some of the things, and we're catching up because of that also. But we're
Okay, can I just thank you for that, because you named stuff, mental health, trauma, disability, so no lack of support was one of the reasons why you're saying that's why your kids kind of dropped out. That's why they could read and write, but then because of that lack of support, that was the reason why they dropped out. I want to be respectful because Commissioner Patterson has to leave. So up here, I want us to get this in. Everyone has talked about the dysfunctional board that is in place. We have candidates that are actually running to step into dysfunction, I guess is what you're saying. How are you going to turn that around? And let's give that, you gotta leave exactly 7? I gotta give him a minute, because he's gotta be out the door. So 1 minute, Again, do you understand the question? We've heard it over and over that the current school board is dysfunctional. You're running for positions to step into dysfunction. How do you plan to turn that around?
I guess I'll begin. We've already done that. You asked that we remove the president and vice president. The president had been there for over 20 years, and the vice president 10. And one of them, I won't mention any names, but they still are an antagonist. So we removed that barrier, so now we can work together. It might not be 7, it might only be 4 now working together, but we're the majority. So we're making those changes that you and we, that's why I ran for the board. So they're running for the board also, but they forget that I ran, the same reason they're running is the same reason I ran, because of the dysfunction of the board. Now, give us an opportunity. We've only been in there since January with new president, new vice president. That at least the 4 of us at this point in time are working very good together and reaching out to some of you in this room, for your suggestions and ideas. And if you don't believe me, just ask some of the people in the room. I don't want to name names, but I'm a community activist. I'm a more relationship builder, I should say. That's how I identify myself. Relationships. And relationships are key. So therefore, give this new board an opportunity. Please give me the opportunity to go back and help. I've been asked to come back because I was only going to run 1 term. And they said, James, you helped us with the foundation, start a new foundation here. Help us continue that. So I said, well, I'll give you 1 or 2 more years. I don't want to be a career politician. So I want to go back and help create, the foundation's already been created with the new leadership, but just building it up now.
Okay. Thank you. 1 minute. Whoever wants to go next, so do you need me to repeat the question?
No, I will go.
Whoever wants to go next?
I'll go. So,
Again, Heather, I saw you shake your head. Do you need me to repeat the question?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
So the question was, how do we think we can turn around this function in the school board? So I'm a strategy person. I look at evidence-based, research-based strategies to help combat dysfunction. There's 2 things that I would focus on is looking at individual skill sets. What skills do you bring to the board and how can we utilize those and capitalize the most out of that? This is about working with humans and working with different behaviors, working with different characteristics. We have to know how that looks in a leadership form. The board is comprised of leaders. We need to have people who know how to work with leaders. The second part would be to review the laws and the bylaws in the handbook. Hold people accountable for their actions. Once they are aware of what their role is and how they are held accountable for those actions, a lot of the dysfunction that you currently see would go away because they're not being held accountable. So we need people who understand what leadership is and how to actually work with other leaders.
I agree entirely with you, but I also want to say that everybody in the role as a commissioner is not a leader, and that's a problem. When you have people in roles that do not know how to lead and do not know how to have an open mind and work with other leaders so we can do the best things. So to change the face. What was the question? I'm sorry.
You're a candidate that is running to be a part of, you all identified that the school board right now is dysfunctional. And you're a candidate that's actually running to step into dysfunction. How do you plan to change it?
So the most important part is to remember, I'm working for you. I wouldn't be there if you didn't vote for me. Also, by working for you, I'm also a representative of every child that's in the city school district. As being a representative, I have to act a certain way. If we want the kids to behave, we have to behave. That's the only way we can get things right. So that's the thing that we have to do. I work for you, and I'm a representative of the kids. And most importantly, I am a leader. I know how to be open-minded. I know how to work with other individuals, and I know how to get things done. I know if somebody has an argument or a disagreement, We can learn to agree to disagree, but first of all, we do not do it in front of a group of people. If I have an issue with you, I'll pull you to the side at the end, and we'll talk. If it has to go, we have to bring somebody else in so we can come to an agreement to disagree, we have to do that. But you have to be a leader. Thank you.
I believe that, if you look at the idea that we here for the children, and for the district is in the crisis that it is now, the crisis we have with our children, particularly our young men in this city now, we don't have time to sit in the corner of the room when it's time to do business and bickering and arguing. You gotta put that stuff to the side and do what's right. And I agree with what Brother Kareem said, we gotta hold ourselves to a standard of behavior. We are not going to act a certain way, and when we do, we're gonna be held accountable, and we're gonna agree to be held accountable for our actions. You can't, something just can't be going on when you try, of course, to represent the people, represent the community, and you're doing your own thing, act the way you want to act, with no sense of decorum or any kind of self-control. That's not acceptable. And you need people who say, look, I understand I'm not going to agree with everything all the time, but every issue should be an argument. I also don't like this idea of having this we split all the time on the board. I think we need more consensus and people actually willing to be on the same page. Not that we don't have disagreements, but every issue shouldn't be a 4-3 issue.
Sister Juana, can I state one more thing that I have to leave?
Go ahead.
So the public knows that we also voted in and brought in the Council of Great City Schools to train this board because of its dysfunction. And that was done by the new leadership. So we do recognize, our dysfunction, but more importantly, the new leadership, wanted to bring in this group who has well over 50 years experience between all of them to train us and monitor us every board meeting on becoming a functional board opposed to a dysfunction. So on that, I thank you for your time. I thank you for, allowing me to be part of your quorum here, and I look forward to the next time.
Can I ask you a follow-up question?
Sure.
How long is that going to be happening, the training, the person that you brought in to help train?
It's a minimum of 2-year to 3-year contract, but it can be ongoing if necessary, if needed.
So if any of these candidates are elected, they will be a part of that?
Yes,
as well?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you all.
Thank you for being here tonight.
The most common question that I was asked when I was petitioning was, are you sure you want to do this? Have you even read the newspaper? And I said, I need to do this because I have done everything else that I can do, and now I have to help be part of the solution. I have to focus on the kids. When I had board training, I sit on other boards, it made me realize that our goals have to be job and policy minded. We have to figure out what we need to do, find our job. I love the idea of finding our skill set, matching what needs to be done for change of policy. I'm not a politician, I'm a policy changer. That's what we have to do. That's what the board is about. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to focus on. That's what our job is. And I'm here to do it.
Just make sure we get some questions here about our students and things. We kind of answered this one already. I want to keep this one, I think we'll do it, we already kind of answered the one about student achievement, ensure everyone who graduates is life ready. Next question is going to go towards the real team. So, is everyone familiar with the REAL team? The Racial Equity Advocacy Leadership Team. That's what the REAL stands for, all right? It's about anti-racism and having anti-racism training throughout the district. And there are other components to it as well. But Howard, you can explain that. Why don't you explain the REAL team, and then, is this your community question? Okay, I thought so. All right.
Part of the question is to ask if they are even familiar with it at all, and whether you are or not, what are your views in terms of how individual, institutional, and structural racism is impacting the crisis that we all know exists
So first part I'll add, are folks, are you familiar with the realty? If you are, just raise your hand. So we got 2 folks, okay. And the second part, did you hear the second part? Okay, anyone want to answer? For anybody who wants to jump in and answer first, we'll give this a minute.
Well, I'm not exactly too familiar with the realty, but I do understand that, as I said earlier, this is not a failing system. This is a system that's set up to fail our kids. And that starts from the top on down. I don't believe that this system is set for our kids to succeed. So with that being said, we definitely need a realty because we have to tear down the system and rebuild a whole new system that is cohesive for our kids to succeed. When I go into the schools and I see different things that our kids don't have, that we would assume that they should have. See, that's the problem. When I graduated in 1996, when I had more opportunity for our kids in 2025, that's a real problem. So I feel it do stem from the top, because I feel that our kids are a sacrificial lamb. They are sacrificing our kids to put money in their pockets. Because like I said, through a failing system, the city school district gets more money. If the city school district was succeeding, they wouldn't be getting as much money as they're getting. So when we have successful programs and they're not being implemented and they're being taken away, I feel it's being done on purpose so that our kids won't succeed and so that you can still have the data of our kids in our school district being a failing district.
But I think when you look at the demographics of the district, and you have a situation where 90% of our kids are Black, Latino, and Asian, and then Native American, then you look at the teaching staff, it's almost impossible not to be affected by racism. And, not only from an academic standpoint, but financially as well. When most of those teachers don't live in the city, which means the wealth that's being created by the district is going to other communities in the county of Monroe that are rich and doing very well. Their schools are doing very well. And our school, we're behind in power. And so that in and of itself shows you there is a connection between the staffing of the district and racism. Because you see that in our classrooms too, the way some of our kids are treated. It's a cultural divide, it's certainly a level of racism in it as well. And we have to look at ways to try and turn that around, particularly in terms of staffing, but also in terms of holding teachers accountable when they do things that are against our children, which is not happening as much as it should.
I've seen this in the school district. I've seen the disparities all over. I live in the Southwest still, but I lived on Reynolds Street for 20 years. And I watched what the Southwest decline just over the 20 years. I watched what has been an ignored community, and I've watched the difference in the disparity in the different schools. From 23, where two of my children went to school number 2, the lack of programs, the school itself, they were going to close school number 2, then they revamped school number 2, then they closed school number 2, and replaced it with another school that you can't even get in the building because the principal's terrified of the neighborhood. It's ridiculous. I don't understand what's going on, and I want to fight for our kids. I want to fight for all of the kids in my neighborhood and all throughout the city. I don't understand that we don't have neighborhood schools again. I don't understand why we don't have community in our schools, and I don't understand why we are still in the position that we were decades later.
So really quick, as a principal, I was a proponent of understanding implicit bias and made sure that my staff are trained on what that means and what that looks like. It is crucial that all of our employees, that everyone that works in the district, that works with our children, understand what they bring to the table and how these implicit biases affect our children, affect the outcome and the growth of our individual kids, our classes, and our schools. We all understand the historical and the systematic practices of discrimination in our country. It's not new, but we need to actively combat this head on by giving trainings, offering workshops, bringing in authors like Benita Love to come in and train our staff and our teachers on how to work with all the students in our district, especially those who are Black and brown. It is necessary, this is not an option, and so as a board, we need to create policies so that our superintendent has the ability to bring these into practice.
Did you want to get a chance? Did everyone respond? Okay. 30 seconds, this is going to be our final question because we have to transition over to the mayoral candidates. And we're going to encourage folks to please write your questions for the mayoral candidates down, and someone will come around and pick those up as well. Our final question is going to be, what do you actively do in the community to support family and students, and how long have you been active in youth outreach? 30 seconds.
This is what I do.
30 seconds.
I've been a Cub Scoutmaster for 4 years. I have been with Diverse Mosaics trying to uplift the families in the neighborhoods where we live. I have been a Help the Kids youth advocate for the last 10 years. I have been a proponent and advocate for our libraries. We just repainted the mural 8 years ago at Phyllis Wheatley. We're repainting it again this year. You're all welcome to come out in June. June 28th, we're going to be repainting the mural. I live in the community. I uplift the community. This is what I do. I helped start the League of Future Voters. I ask the kids what they need, and I support the kids and what they want. I became a Cub Master so that I could uplift the children and give them what it is that they were missing.
Whoever wants to go next.
Well, I ran a daycare center in Northeast Rochester for 4 years. Worked with the youngest of our children, top newborn up to 13, up to 12. Through my church, I've been involved in initiatives, the community, helping children, tutoring and other things. I believe the children need to have people in the community who are connected to them, who really are committed to their growth and development. And I think before you can come up here and say you want to run for something like this, you have to actually put some skin in the game yourself and actually try to help. And I definitely believe in that.
Thank you.
Okay, so 30 seconds of what I do. So as you already know, I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I've been in the field of education for over 20 years. I also run a youth development program where I work with youth 14 to 20 every day, all the time. I mentor youth. I take them to events like this. I take them, get them involved in political stuff, get them involved in the community. I talk to their parents. I run a wraparound service where I go into schools and work with youth as well. You name it, I've done it. I also work with the rec centers. So I spend a lot of times doing the Heritage Committee, different youth team Heritage Committee. I volunteer for that. I'm doing a college tour actually this weekend with the group of kids. We're taking them on a tour of some HBCUs. So I am embedded within the community. I'm embedded into our youth, and I believe in our families, and I show that through what I do.
All right, real quick, it's a lot. It's basically in my DNA as a son of Trent Jackson Sr. My mother, Pamela Jackson, always worked with kids. When I came home, I was working at the Children's Detention Center. I worked with kids over 10 years at the Children's Detention Center. I was a dean at a charter school. I taught conflict resolution at the city school district. I take kids, before COVID, I took kids state to state and hoped for them to get a scholarship to go to college through AAU basketball. Right now, I'm working at Main Street, volunteering, trying to help those kids over there with their reading and writing. So I have always worked with kids. Kids are something that's in my DNA. It's been going on for 50 years.
All right, that wraps it up. We want to thank everybody. Thank all of our candidates who are running for school board while we were in the I just want to let everybody know that these questions, they didn't give any questions in advance. They were pre-prepped, so we thank you for being here tonight. Great job. And good luck on your campaigns. We're going to make a transition. If our mayoral candidates will come down now, please. If you have questions, mirror questions, please make sure you're writing them down on the card. We're going to get started. So we would like for you to start with first introducing yourself and tell the community why you are running for mayor. I'm sorry. Thank you. Why you are running for mayor. I'm sorry. Why you are running for mayor and what are your qualifications? So your introduction, why you're running for mayor, what are your qualifications? And that will be for 2 minutes. Anybody can start.
I'll go first. My name's Lou Sabo. I've lived in Rochester for 34 years. Running for mayor because I want to see us make improvements both in educational choices, business opportunities. We've got some big challenges ahead of us as a city. We're post-corporate, and there's a lot of job needs that we have. I don't see any other way out of our challenges that we have without good job opportunities in and around the city so that people can afford the rising cost of housing, the cost of utilities go up. Expenses are going up. We know that people need to have more money to live on. The only way I see us making that happen effectively is having a positive and conducive environment for employers, job opportunities in the city. A little background on myself. I raised a family. We live on the east side of the city. 3 kids. We homeschooled our 3 kids. They went on to college, went off, and they're in other parts of the world, so I got to chase them around in order to see them. We have enjoyed that opportunity to do that. Rochester provides a great opportunity for educational choices, and there are lots of neat things to do around Rochester. Let's celebrate those exciting things. I want to see those things improve. I'm also an avid cyclist, part of a number of cycling groups, and I like the things that have been done to make it possible for cyclists to enjoy the features of our area. A gorge, we can ride on trails, bike all the way to the lake and back. The streets are striped out. I want to see that continue to improve and be better for physical activity with the trails. I see some of those things going in on the west side of the river, coming up to Plymouth Avenue. Looks like they're working on that. So I want to see those positive opportunities. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies. This is my time.
Let me get some. Tessie, anything?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tyrus Asa Adams. I was once a resident of Rochester, New York, left and came back. And I'm a member of a lot of community organizations in Rochester as well as the United States. I was a former, still is, a member of the Black Panther Party. And when I came back to Rochester, my heart was broken. I've been back now going on almost 10 years. What brought me back to Rochester was the educational system. I'm from Florida and live in Atlanta. Florida has one of the hardest educational systems in the world. I was saying my grandchildren came to Florida for summer school and passed. And my daughter wanted to know why they were having issues here in Rochester, New York. That's where I met Howard Eagle. Boy, did I learn a lot. But Rochester's biggest problem goes beyond most of you folks' wildest imagination. One, you can't get the history here correct. People are being hurt left and right. Income in this city has been at its beautiful normal rate for decades. This is a city that you can actually live in and get things done. But the reason why I'm running for mayor is number one, to get this thing correct totally. Because this need to be dealt with like a farmer dealing with bad crop. You gotta tilt the ground to grow something brand new. And if you folks don't understand it, you're gonna find out soon enough. And one of the reasons you're gonna find out with the new president we got, he's gonna teach us a real lesson. It's something we should have learned a long time ago.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Minister Clifford Florence Sr. I'm the senior pastor of the Central Church of Christ. I'm glad to be here this evening. I want to run for mayor because we have issues that affect all of our lives. The gun violence that we have across our city, the importance of public safety, healthcare for the citizens of Rochester is not up to par for all of our citizens. Livable jobs. We need livable jobs for all of our residents here in the city of Rochester. Economic development. But I'm not talking about economic development for just the opulent. There are poor people in our community who've been deprived from the services that we all need. And I want to ensure to use the office of mayor to be accessible to you and to collaborate and talk directly to you, that you can share with me the direction that you would like to see our city go in. Activities for our youth and for our families are vital in every sector of this city. then I would like the religious leaders and churches to work together with me. And I want to ask tonight that if I'm elected your mayor, I don't want that to be the only goal. I would hope that if I'm elected, that you would commit to work with me for all 4 years. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shashi Sinha, and I'm running for mayor. I moved here 15 years ago when my wife got a job at RIT as a professor. Rochester is a beautiful place, but it has its problems. I own an inn, Dartmouth House. It was completely fire destroyed about 12 years ago, and nobody wanted to do anything with it. Went out to the city, and I bought that property because nobody was doing anything with it. And when I went to the city told me, just knock it down. They're good at it. I said, no, I did not buy it to knock it down. I want to rebuild. Everybody told me it cannot be done. But I did it. And now we have saved that building. It is one of the highest rated in. It provides jobs. It provides tax money to the city. I got into running for mayor because city was doing tax foreclosure auction. And I found out city is kicking people out because people can't pay taxes. But that was triggered me to get into it. But that's not it. We have bigger problems. We have high crime, we have housing issue, we have education. This is crisis. These are 3 foundational things for a modern society. If any of these crumble, things will fall apart. So when we hear people say, stay the course, if you stay the course, you'll be exactly where you are today. We need to change. I come with bold plans. What I'm talking about is economic revival of this city. Look at my agenda. It's bold and beautiful.
Thank you. Next, we have a community question.
How do we plan to involve residents in decision-making procedures in Rochester?
Yes, please.
How do we plan to involve residents in decisions in making procedures in Rochester?
It's my turn. That would be a rather beautiful, easy question, because actually you are the employer and I am your employee. My job is to actually bring you all together at the table, work whatever issues that we really got, and clean it up, because those at the bottom know the answer. I only know that because I've been out here on these streets working for years. The biggest problem that the current administration, actually the last 2 current administrations, did not listen to the people, and you paid the price. The first mayor, next to this one, ignored you, and you ended up with a huge mess downtown. And this 2025 is the 2024 project. It's a very dangerous project. It's definitely for all citizens. And I'm not even talking about minorities, I'm talking about every last one of you. If they raise these taxes any higher, most of you folks are gonna have to do something with your property, or they're gonna actually come at it and foreclose on you. And it's cheaper for you to stay in your house than it is to try to stay in an apartment. And being your mayor is going to be one of the most major things that I will have to do, is try my hardest for you to bring people to the table, point out where the problem is, and let us be the firemen and put the fire out.
Well, it seems the one avenue that to have to be a part of decision-making process is city council. But I don't think that's really heard much as to what changes, benefit, and then the coordinating between city council and mayor, be on the same page to bring about changes. But there does need to be feedback from everybody in the city as we go around. They do town halls throughout the city. I don't know how that percolates down to the decisions that are made. I think ultimately what money is available, what the people are that have the money to make the moves, do get the decisions going in their favor. The housing challenge is a big one that needs everybody to be involved, feedback-wise. And I agree that taxes are getting penalizing. I had one customer of mine tell me he's lived in his house for 20 plus years, he's retired, because I'm gonna have to move out of my house if my taxes go up any higher. He relies on a fixed income. Why are we driving people out of their homes? And we need to figure out better ways of getting money to come into our city. And I think jobs, again, are the big thing, being economically favorable to businesses to reside in. But on our part, as citizens of this city, we've got to do our jobs well, be an employable workforce, and be ready to work. We're down to brass tacks at this stage in the game. We've all got to work towards having that income available to us and hear about what talents and abilities our city has. You as residents, which you will have to offer, bring to the table so we can emphasize those benefits that Rochester has to offer businesses that choose to locate here.
I just want to, first of all, we just had Mary Lupian, who is running for mayor, on the table as well. And I want to reiterate the question, and the question is, how do you plan to involve residents in decision-making processes in Rochester?
Thank you, Pastor Wanda. I would like to have a minute to introduce myself. I know I had to be late because of the council meeting. I'm glad I'm here. Our mayor was there at the council meeting as well. I'm saying he's not here. But I would like to just take a minute to introduce myself so I can answer the question. Would I be allowed to take that minute after the question round is over?
2 minutes.
All right.
There you go.
Do you want me to do that now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for being here. This is such an important part of our democracy. And it couldn't be more important than right now to protect our democracy by participating in it. My name is Mary Lupian, and I'm running to become our mayor because I believe leadership should be rooted in justice, courage, and evidence. I've come to this work as a public servant and longtime community activist. I'm an educator in Rochester City School District, teaching social and emotional learning. So I see firsthand the immense challenges that our students bring to school with them every day. Problems that are in our power to solve. I was elected to City Council in January of 2020, and I've stepped up in times of crisis to lead bold initiatives. I spearheaded Rochester's first non-police mental health responder team, the Person in Crisis team, and expanded that work through the New Cities Action Initiative. And I also brought Advanced Peace, a revolutionary model of gun violence prevention, to our city. I'm running to become our mayor because I believe government should work for the people, not powerful interests. Right now, our people are struggling, and our mayor is not taking action. We have a housing crisis in Rochester right now. And 5 days before Christmas, on the coldest day of the year, the mayor's solution to solve homelessness was taking away their tents. Housing is a human right, and as mayor, I'll work to ensure that every resident has access to housing. Youth violence is a public health crisis. In 23, carjacking rose by 350%, highest in the nation. Even our police chief admits that we can't police our way out of this problem. I'll invest in kids to give them a chance while working to address the root causes of crime. Thank you. other side, and that's how I come to this work. And I know how frustrating it is when we show up month after month to city council meetings and county ledge meetings, only to feel like our voices aren't heard. And it's critical that we're involved in every step of the way, in transparency, and also in making decisions before they happen. I'm a big believer in participatory budgeting so that we have an amount of money and we go to the community to suggest projects and give input on how we spend our money, but also making sure that we are accessible, and that we don't expect you to come to us, and that we come to you, and that we're regularly incorporating your feedback into how are things working and what should we be doing differently.
I think it's important in every sector of the city to have one table where all of the citizens can come together to inform me as your leader what your needs are. I would discourage that we be divisive in whatever we plan to do as a community. I would want to have, as much as the community would come out, in every sector we would have meetings with the community. I want to be a listener. I present to you that I don't sit here with all of the solutions. I think that's one of the major issues that create problems within our city. I want to listen to you, and I want to commit that I will use the office of mayor to help you in the issues that you're struggling with and that you're facing. When you call City Hall, I want you to experience solutions and not voicemail. I don't want staff to turn their head to you, but give attention to people in power, big business. Every one of the citizens here, you count. And I want to take the lead from you and to make sure that you're listened to. But then again now, we have to work together toward solutions. I think we'd all agree that we know the problems. And sometimes we beat the problems to death, but never work together for solutions. So I would encourage us, when you come to the meetings, let's not come with more problems. Let's come up with one solution. Let's work together toward that goal to make sure we accomplish it. And I think if we accomplish one at a time, we can move to others. But your input is the key.
My approach is very different. I want to have direct connection with residents. I'm going to be holding monthly listening session, both in person and online, where people can ask questions and provide their input. So far, what we have seen, the government is disconnected from people. That also means if there are important issues that residents want referendum on, I'll be right with you for that. In addition, for example, I give you housing, all these apartments building going on, where so much money is invested. Was there any discussion with people? No. What happens is that all these contracts goes to developers. All the profit goes to developers. People come from outside to build those places, while people in the city are struggling without jobs. I want to change that. I want to grow from within. I want people to have jobs. I want people to have education. I want people to have safety in the city. So yes, I will be very connected with you. You will have direct line with me as mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a community question. It's going to be for 2 minutes.
Daily, we hear of youth involved in crime. They are younger and younger each day. They aren't going to school. What is your plan to resolve this issue and save our youth?
So I agree with you. Our youth are in crisis. I teach social emotional learning in the City School District, working with kids grades 6 through 8. The issues that they are bringing to school with them, that they carry on their hearts, are dire, and they are solvable. Youth don't have outlets, they don't have as many positive adult relationships as they need, and they don't have hope for the future. We need to heavily invest in youth. When we went up by 350% in carjackings, cities like St. Paul went down by 40%. And when I called to find out what they did differently, they invested in their youth. They got free Uber rides to school and to mental health appointments, fully funded youth sports and after-school programs and summer programs. They had a proactive youth car theft intervention team that actually went and proactively looked at kids who might get involved in thefts and worked to make sure that they had the resources that they need. And it doesn't stop with the children. You have to look at the families. What's going on in that family when kids are 11 years old and needing help? So we need to give them that help.
First and foremost, this is a question that should be answered by the mayor who did not appear tonight. Mary Lupian should have some answers to this question because she has served on city council, and if the solutions that they have been telling us can work, why aren't they working? Here again, if what they think doesn't work, the greatest resource is you, our community. So what we need to do now, if we don't want to lose any more young people, is we have to organize as a community to work together for solutions that we see that are not on the agenda of the present mayor, city council members, and tell them what we want to improve the livelihood of our children. This community has been blamed too much. That has to stop. That's not going to solve the answer to the question. We also know the history of crime in this city. If you look at some of the last names, that's been a part of our community history. But if families are not being supported, if children are not being supported, and those of you who were here for the previous discussion, there was no mention of collaboration where all the systems will work together. I close with this thought. We have 241 systems and growing in this city, and none of them work together. So it's important, again, as I said earlier, our meeting together as often as we can come together to make it accessible to all citizens will be the beginning of change. But if we don't organize, that is the key. If there is no organization in this city to fight for the changes we want to see, we'll be asking the question and come up with no answers.
Can you repeat that question again? I want to make sure I heard this one correct.
Daily we hear of youth involved in crime. They are younger and younger each day. They aren't going to school. What is your plan to resolve this issue and save our youth?
Well, everyone, this problem started before a lot of you were born. And I'm probably one of the oldest ones in here. I'm 74 years old, so I've seen it. 90% of this problem comes from selfishness. education, lack of education, family structure, which was destroyed years ago. And here's go the kicker, integration, which the start of this whole mess. The family structure was torn apart. And when we tried to put it back together, they found better ways of tearing it more apart. They threw drugs into this thing. So our children have been crying out loud, and no one has really been hearing their voices. So they act out. This is why you got problems in school, cars being stolen. But to answer that problem, number one, we gotta get back to the family. And if we don't, we're doomed. And if we're doomed, our future is done. Because I need those youth in order for me to stay alive. And you're going to need them too. Because I'm sick and tired of going to funerals. I'm sick and tired of watching another mother cry and wonder what happened. I'm sick and tired of our children going to jail for drugs. I'm sick and tired of our kids killing each other. We got to find a better way of doing this, because at the rate we're doing it, it's wrong. Now, old-fashioned way of doing this, I'm blaming 90% of this on the church. She hasn't stood up and fought back for us. She went a long way. I grew up in a church which was everything. The neighborhood, the parent, the daycare center, the commercial, the fund. But the church has failed her community completely. And if the church don't step up and step out and step in and get down, we'll just run in for nothing. And I'm sad to say it, but that's what the future is going to hold.
So I agree on the part faith institutions need to be involved, but we've belittled what the church has done. I'm part of a startup church in the city of Rochester. People don't come to church on Sunday. They're out enjoying whatever joyride or the last minutes of nice weather, because Rochester's weather is fleeting, not to be light about it, but there are things that often we put higher priorities on, and we skip the spiritual aspect of life and what it teaches. It's the intangibles. If you can't focus on something that you can't see, learn to put your faith in it, and work towards a goal that is a dream or focus that is outside of what's on your hands, then you can't be trusted to be in the area of integrity, to do a job, those kinds of things. Those intangibles are what we need to teach, reinforce. I agree the church needs to emphasize that more. That brings home the nature and the character in children. We raised our children going to church. You can make it happen. If the family is broken, I agree the family, when it's broken, these things begin to take over. We begin to have problems. I had my car stolen. I got initiated into Rochester, got my car stolen, didn't have it 3 or 4 days. And then I almost got run over by a kid a couple weeks ago on my bike. So I was almost a statistic. He wasn't trying to get to school. It was 9 o'clock at night. He's joyriding around with a bunch of people in the car. Guess what? He drove down the street, down Elton Street, turned left right in front of 2 police cars. They're looking the other way. We have an indifference to the crime that's going on in our backyard. I don't support that indifference. You got to take care of the little things in order for the big things to get conquered. If you can't take care of the little things, you aren't going to go after the big things either. So we've had an indifference towards crime in the city, and that's got to stop. And I'm stopping.
You're right. 11 year, 12, 13, 14. This is not normal. But it should not be a surprise. I talked about 3 foundational pillars: safety, housing, and education. If any of these falter, we will have a lot bigger problems. And it's happening right in front of us. Education. We need to keep those kids in school. We need to make our schools better. Absenteeism is high. Everybody needs to be in school. Very simple. And if kids are not coming to school, being on the street, we gotta go to parents, talk to them. We gotta involve teachers. Leaving them out is not an option. That also starts with, I'm gonna be tough on RCST, because we cannot let education fail. The second part is, for a bit older ones, we gotta be tough on crime. We gotta make police go there where the crime is happening and give opportunity when it's needed. But if these 20, 21, 22 years old don't learn and become a repeat offender, there needs to be consequences. What's happening is not acceptable. It's not normal. We gotta wake up. We gotta stop this from happening. We gotta teach those kids. We gotta put them back in school. Give them extracurricular activity from 8 in the morning to 5 in the evening. You're gonna be in school. As simple as that. Thank you.
Did everyone get a chance to respond? Did you respond?
I wanted to ask if you would allow me, please.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, did everyone get a chance to respond? I'm sorry, any questions? I'm gonna go on to the next question, because we have quite a few community questions that we want to get in. This next question, I just want to make sure, did you get a chance to respond to this question? Yes?
Yes.
Question, thank you, thank you, thank you. Next question, 2 minutes. Why do you think RPD, the sheriff, state police, FBI, ATF, etc., can't stop the flow of illegal guns, but children know where they are and can get them?
They don't want to.
Oh, yeah.
That's about the only answer we can come up with. They don't want
Wait,
to.
one person at a time. Minister has the floor.
They don't want to.
Okay, but that's your answer.
And let me add, we met with all law enforcement at Fight Village. They don't want to stop the flow of guns in the city of Rochester. If they did, they would stop. Now, we don't have this problem as publicized in the suburbs and in the rural areas, but the guns have to come in from somewhere. Plane, boat, truck. We know the 7 or 8 states that the guns traffic from to get to Rochester, New York. We have satellites all over the world. And it's impossible for me to believe, and I hope it's impossible for you to believe, that Dick Gregory had once said that we have the capability to see a net on the dog's behind, and we can't find the guns that are flowing freely in our city. If we stop the gun flow, doesn't matter where they can find them, in a store, in a house. We have to stop the flow of guns in this city. Now, we say support the police, but for what? When they refuse to do what is needed, the guns can be stopped if they want to stop them. But the politics get in. And when politics get in, there's corruption. So it's important that we demand again that we want the flow of guns to stop in the city of Rochester yesterday.
I would agree with Minister Florence that they don't want to. But I would also posit that just like building a wall doesn't keep immigrants from coming to the United States, we can't prevent kids from picking up guns if we don't stop the reasons why they're doing it. And I think a lot of us know that they pick up guns for 2 reasons. A big one is to feel safe. So why don't they feel safe? That is how we stop gun violence in Rochester. The Advanced Peace Program that we brought in 2020 is revolutionary in that it centers on mentorship and support. It it works with the people that are currently involved in shooting. And we know kids that are getting shot are also the ones doing the shooting, for the most part. And it shows them love. Every day, there's someone out there proving to them that they're worth investment. And it works. Where it started in Richmond, California, it was the 5th highest murder rate in the entire country. They dropped by 80% because they gave these guys support. They got them social services. They worked with them to create a life map where they had purpose. They supported them with stipends for meeting certain goalposts. And they got therapy. And they chose a different way. So we can focus on this problem of plugging holes in a dam trying to stop the gun flow. And that's important. But we also need to stop the reasons why they're picking them up.
I don't know the answer, why the gun keeps coming in and why it's not being stopped. To me, some of these answers are fairly simple and straightforward. I don't know why it's happening, but I know what I'm going to do about this. I'm going to focus police on gangs, guns, violent crime. We know where they are. Our neighborhoods, our residents need to feel safe. So I'll be coming after you, as simple as that. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be accountable. We want to make police accountable at the same time. But the level of violence we are seeing around is just unacceptable. It's not normal. We have normalized it. We gotta wake up. Under no circumstances, we can't make excuses that a 12-year, 13 or 14-year-old picking a gun and shooting somebody. We have failed. We gotta stop this. So I'll come with a simple approach. If somebody has a gun, if you're committing a crime, if you're a gangster, I'm gonna be sending police after you. There's no other choice.
Yeah, I think it's rather simple. We've made some policies in the state, the current people that are in administration right now. There is no consequence for crime below the age of 18. You can commit a crime and go on. There's nobody to prosecute you. There's nothing that law enforcement can go and do to hold you in jail. So the policies that we've made as a state, we allow this crime to go on. Starts from there, all the way down. Does Rochester say, too bad for you, New York State, we're going to start defining our own goals? If you're caught committing a crime, you go to jail. And maybe we ought to take some of that money that's spent in our RCSD and make kind of a penal school. If you like to do crime and you like to do that, we're going to have something a little tougher, a little more stringent guidelines. That might be your home for quite a while. And you're going to get educated. Or you're going to go out and you're going to work. You're going to help clean up the streets. You're going to clean graffiti off the walls. There are going to be some things that you're going to learn, some tangible tasks that you can put to work once you come back out of that institution. So we need to take it seriously. The policies that our governor and legislature have made do not affect the suburbs. If you've noticed, a number of our assemblymen have expanded their districts to encompass more of the suburbs and less of the city. That's because their policies, they don't like what's going on in their neighborhoods in the city, and they'll move out in the suburbs. It doesn't affect them. It affects the most vulnerable parts of our society. Unfortunately, that's the city of Rochester. So we need to take crime seriously and prosecute it. Well, that's a nice question. And I'm going to answer it the simplest way I can see it. Guns are big business. You're going to have to start looking at reality about people. know how many jobs are behind a gun? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, somebody look it up for me, the average American should have 3.1 weaponry in their house per person. Do you know how many guns there are on that street then? We're talking multi-billions. Now, to try to stop this, I agree with Minister Florence. They don't want to stop this. You got 9 jobs behind this. You got the hospitals behind the shooting. You got the doctor trying to save a child from dying. You got prison systems waiting on the guy to shoot the gun. And we're talking billions of dollars. If it was so reasonable for them to do it, they'll do it. If they could go to the moon, I know they could stop the gun flow. So, as I'm saying, they are not planning on stopping it. Because number one, the Republican Party will bring up the Second Amendment in a heartbeat. And you all know that. So the best way of handling this gun problem is with education. All my children know how to shoot a gun, and I teach them how to shoot very well. Now I'm trying to teach my grandkids, because I'm scared if they pick up one, I want to make sure they know what they're doing with it. I don't want them to run around killing somebody innocently. But I teach them what a weapon can do. And just going back to education again. Everything that we're dealing with involves education. And if you go around liking it, you're going around with bigger problems.
Thank you. Next question. 1 minute. The opioid crisis is crippling city neighborhoods like North Clinton, Lyle, Joseph, Hudson, and Monroe Avenue. What's your plan for addressing the opioid crisis in our city? Whoever wants to start, 1 minute.
Again, this is another issue that does not want to be stopped. When drugs were loose in the Black community, hard prison sentences were given. That was the answer. Jail everybody. Now the problem has spread outside of the Black community and it affects everybody. More so now, the white community. Jail is not the answer now. It's services. More money is made available for a problem that was not made available for everyone. So again, when politics get involved, instead of concentrating on the solution to the problem that will help the entire community, we go into these silos. And again, if we're not careful, the problem returns stronger because we were intimidated by the solution that could benefit everyone. If there's not a will to stop what is wrong, we won't come up with right solutions. If it's wrong for one community, it's wrong for another. And I just want to add, and I know my time is up, I hope we have the same understanding with white-collar crime.
Okay, thank you.
We talk about gangsters and gangs, but what about
Thank you for answering the
the
question.
money that continues?
We want to be fair, give everyone the same amount of time. So the answer, it sounds like the answer to. Okay.
What's the issue here?
There is no issue. The question again is, the opioid crisis is crippling city neighborhoods like North Clinton, Lyle, Joseph, and Hudson, and Monroe Avenue. What's your plan for addressing the opioid crisis?
The opioid crisis is very serious, and you're right. It hasn't been a major focus until it really started infiltrating the white community. And now the answer has changed, but it doesn't mean answer. Overdose prevention centers are in many states. In New York City, there are 2, and we've run a trip down to On Point in New York City to understand how they're doing what they're doing. And it's supervised use, so that they're not, number 1, it's preventing death. But number 2, they're in a safe, supportive environment where they're building relationships and they feel supported and they are getting into rehab at much higher rates. And on Monroe Ave, North Clinton, and Jefferson, and Lyle, we have an ambassador program, which is employing people who are on the street, homeless, and that have drug, substance abuse issues in cleaning up their community, and they're finding purpose and community with each other, and again, they're getting into housing and rehab at higher rates. So really, the solution is making sure that they feel like they have a purpose, because people don't do drugs for no reason.
Yeah. Rehab treatment is needed. It has become epidemic to such a big scale. So 2 approaches to it: put people in treatment, addiction, and the second piece would be, and for the first piece, we got to make more investment on treatment and rehab. We are lacking there. Second piece is making sure that drugs don't come in, make it difficult for that to be here. And that's where policing comes in. Go after the drug dealers. And so it needs to be a 2-sided approach. Treatment plus stopping drugs from coming in our city.
It's a tough question. It's endemic in certain areas of neighborhoods as you list the streets. I don't have clear solutions on all that because I've not really worked with it in any way directly, but there certainly is a need to have, it's demanding on the soul of people that work in that field. The more support we can give them, finding the cost, the money to cover the cost of having people available to help in that capacity, and the neighborhood interaction with people they're using. But it's an addiction, and it takes people knowledgeable to deal with that, and also to be able to afford treatment programs on the scale that we have problems in our city with. And that's a big scale. That's a tough one to conquer. And stopping the flow of drugs, that starts at the countrywide, all the way down to our cities.
I believe the question asked what a person would do if they was mayor and how they would stop the drug flow. Am I correct?
No, the opioid crisis is crippling city neighborhoods like North Clinton, Lounge.
Yeah, that's the same thing, same question.
No, the question is, what is your plan for addressing the opioid crisis?
Rochester has a major drug problem. It just reached my neighborhood pretty good. I live on Central Park area, and it's starting to look like Clinton Avenue at night now. To stop this drug flow, you're going to have to be the devil's advocate. You're going to have to come at it hard from every angle possible. That includes using the alphabet system, better known the FBI and the CIA and all of these. So as mayor, I would have to definitely try my hardest to save my people. And I would use those organizations to do it, whether you like it or not. Because someone has to be the alpha predator to clean this city up. And I mean
it. Thank you. 30 seconds. Do you support Rochester opting into rent stabilization?
Yes. In order to opt into rent stabilization, we need to complete a vacancy survey to prove that we have a vacancy emergency of less than 5% of units available. City Council authorized that study over a year ago, and the mayor sat on it. He never executed the contract, and we could have opted into rent control by now. Rent control keeps prices, it doesn't do anything to lower prices, it sets it where it's at, but then it controls how much it's able to raise year over year. So had we said it a year ago, the prices would be much lower. But it is important. What we did do is in good cause eviction protection, it does limit rent increases to 5%, but rent control would go so much further.
I'm Vice President at Frank Village. Affordable housing has been taken over by greedy developers who are controlling now, raising rent on poor people. Frank Village was one of the most affordable places to live for Black people in this city. And I need not brag on the work that my father did in this community to help poor people in this city. Now what has to happen, and I'm wrapping up, I saw the sign. Because this city is afraid of powerful developers who want to dictate the plight of poor people, want to take away all the subsidies, evict people, and nobody wants to stand against them. Again, unless we stop the problem, and we know who the problems are, but we won't show any resistance because they have money and power and influence. And again, your mayor's not here tonight because he doesn't want to face this.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you.
Okay. It's a good cause. It does put the cap of 5% limitation per year increase. But for housing, we have a bigger problem. We are 62% rental occupied. That's high for the size of the city. And it is proven if you look at the data. When so many people live in rental units, the city goes in decline. So the solution for that is home ownership. I want to build 4,000 housing units for ownership. For the same amount you pay rent, you can own a house. And that way, you move people into ownership houses. You give them stake. You give them pride in the city. And I'll stop now.
Generational wealth.
Exactly.
It takes money to live in a house, whether it's run by a landlord or you own it yourself. Driveway's torn up, your roof's leaking. You gotta have gainful employment in order to meet those bills. Yeah, we could fix the rent rate, but then you're gonna have some rundown buildings. It's just gonna get worse and worse. Because the landlord's got his limitation. That city property tax, it jumped up. I hear it's going up again. County property tax is going up. I did a calculation. I have about $400 a month just in property taxes and utilities just to have my place to live in. That goes across rent or ownership.
But to answer that question, simple. Rochester's biggest problem is you don't have a minority financial institution that can help you out of a lot of your situations here. Atlanta, Georgia has 3 black banks and more. And it took black banks for the Atlanteans to survive. Rochester, you need a large financial institution here that's minority ran that can help you achieve your dream.
Next question. We need more shelters for the homeless. How are you going to help get the homeless off the streets and out of abandoned buildings? Anybody can start. 1 minute. We need more shelters for the homeless. How are you going to help get the homeless off the streets and out of abandoned buildings?
Start turning some of these abandoned buildings to homeless shelters. That's simple.
Okay. Next.
You have to do community in the streets. You have some people who have issues with living with other people. You can't just make them get into a new place to live. It shows a breakdown again of going to the people who are homeless, and many of us are not. And again, they are a part of the community that we don't meet with to meet their needs. You can't dictate to homeless people any more than any of us can be dictated to. We have to help people where they are. And again, as mayor, I want to listen to everybody before I suggest a solution. But these are questions that should be asked by the city council who's in place and the mayor who's in place. Because if they have not come up with any answers, why are we pressing those of us who have never sat in a seat? These are questions that we should make sure that those who are in the seat presently, who have their hands on the levers, have they met with the homeless community to find out what their needs are?
Did everyone get a chance to respond? Or does everyone?
No. I'll go. Street homelessness is a complicated issue because it involves many other things, often drug use, often mental health. But it is a very solvable issue. We can address that. At the peak, I believe during COVID, I talked with Sister Grace last month, and she said that if we have about 200 beds, that will take care of the street homelessness. Why can't we do it? There's so many organizations in the city trying to solve the street homelessness, but we can't do it. I will be putting this as my focus. If we don't have enough shelter, build one. Actually, build a couple of different ones, depending on the kind of issue. It's not that big. It's an investment. 200 beds is not that big. Of course, you have to provide mental health professional and drug use treatment programs for some of those because it's very complicated. But it is a very solvable, addressable approach.
Generosity of others to the homeless needs. I've seen that practiced in our church. Handouts. Some people want to live in the streets. Obviously, when it's really cold, they don't, and we see it as a problem. But being willing to be generous to those who show the need, I agree with the pastor down there, it's having a posture of giving and sharing to those that are less fortunate than ourselves. Teaches us more about caring for our neighbors, loving our neighbors as we love ourselves. And some days you hand it out. I've had to go through this walk in my own life and learning how to respond to someone in need with some friends. I also saw a developer work with him putting in a homeless shelter. I think it was probably back in 2016, 2017. And that was helpful to the community. We need more of that. So I agree, more of that.
We definitely have a shortage of beds. At a time when our mayor thinks the answer to homelessness is taking people's tents away. There are reasons that people don't go into shelter. There are barriers. If you have a spouse, if you have a pet, if you have belongings, if you have, I'm working with a woman right now whose son has youth sports after 8 o'clock, or the curfew's 8 o'clock. So what is she supposed to do? Completely destabilize her son's life just so she can get off somebody's couch? The choices people are given are impossible. But the truth is that it is cheaper to pay someone's rent than it is to subsidize a shelter bed. So why aren't we doing that? We could have a local housing access voucher program where we set people up with an apartment. So that's a stable place to live. All over the country, we're finding out that congregate shelters, they're putting everyone in the same room. People don't feel safe. It's not, if you're in recovery, it's not a place to go if everyone is around you is using or you're worried about people stealing your belongings. And that's something that's decided at the county level, but it doesn't mean that the city can't fund it.
Thank you. Yes or no, if you are elected, will you stop homeless encampment sweeps?
Yes.
What's the question? Homeless encampment?
Sweeps, the sweeping of homeless encampments. Yeah. If you are elected, will you stop that?
First, yes, we'll stop it. Anybody want a second?
Okay. Mary said yes, Asa said yes.
Yes, I would stop it.
Thank you, Minister said yes.
We remove those people in shelter.
Will you stop homeless encampment sweeps?
Yes.
Yes or no, if you are elected? Okay.
I'll wait for some answers on that. I go through sections of Rochester and you have homeless encampments over our trail system and things. It makes it feel unsafe for people to walk and be in those parts of our city. So we need to do something to help the homeless.
Okay, yes or no? If you are elected,
No answer.
no answer. Thank you. Next question. In the face of the ongoing RG&E crisis, record shutoffs, and ongoing misbilling, Rochester having the third highest energy burden in the country, and inaction from the county, will you commit that your administration will support legislation and swiftly implement the commissioning of a Phase 1 public utility feasibility study that investigates replacing RG&E and that still covers scenarios for a transition at the city and county levels with the money that's already set aside for this purpose? Do you need me to repeat? No. Do you need, no? Probably about 30 seconds because I'm going to reread it. Do you need me to read the question again?
Yes.
Okay. In the face of, it's going to be a yes or no response. In the face of the ongoing RG&E crisis, record shutoffs and ongoing misbilling, Rochester having the third highest energy burden in the country and inaction from the county, will you commit that your administration will support legislation and swiftly implement the commissioning of a Phase 1 public utility feasibility study that investigates replacing RG&E and that still covers scenarios for a transition at the city and county levels with the money that's already set aside for that purpose? And I believe there's already $500,000 that's already set aside.
Now, would that come with the matching funds that's coming from the county?
No, no. Yes or no is your response. No, it will not. This is not the county coming with the matching funds of the county.
Because that's going to be hard to answer that question. Some of us already know the other half. Now, if it comes
Can we
with the
just
county,
answer
if
what
it
you
comes
do
with the
know
county,
based
if
on
it
what
comes
you
with
know?
the county putting up the other half, the answer would be yes.
Okay, but without the county and just using the
Because it's
500, okay, I understand. And just using the 500,000, the answer is no.
We went through this last night almost, and it's coming out the
Okay.
same way. We got to come
Yes
up with,
or,
now the feasible study is going to cost a little over $1 million. 500,000 is going to be a no from anyone on this board.
well,
Unless we
don't
all-
answer for the other candidates. Let the, Asa, I just want you to, I heard your explanation. I'm gonna move on down. Louis, hearing, no?
Not at this.
Not this time. Thank you.
Yes, an independent study, truly independent study.
Okay.
Absolutely, this is an issue I've been leading on for years.
Okay,
I would say
yes is your answer?
yes,
Is
but
yes?
it needs more funding.
Okay, but it needs more funding. Minister?
What do you all want?
All right. Okay, thank you. Let's not, but I want to hear from you.
I want
as
what the
candidate.
people, I want what the people
You want what the people want?
I want
Okay.
what the people
All right, that's the answer. We thank you for that. Next question, because we're running out of time. We're almost at 8:30. Last question is going to be, what are your thoughts about Rochester being a sanctuary city? 30 seconds.
I think the 1986 term sanctuary city is far different than what we practice today. It's sanctuary for refugees and special protected people that have moved in, that's fine. But we don't do a good enough job protecting our own citizens on the streets. I don't think we should be inviting people in to experience the terrible scenarios that we have going on in our streets today.
We're all immigrants in this country. Some of us came forcibly, some of us came willingly. Yes, Rochester needs to be a sanctuary city. And I can tell you why, because not a single person in this country is actually from this country. Your ancestors are from everywhere else, so why can't we have a sanctuary city, a safe city for others?
Thank you. Thank you. Who would like to respond next, please? Anyone? If not, I'm going to go to the next question.
I am an immigrant. I moved to this country almost 28 years ago. I have friends who are immigrant. We have seen what's happening over the last so many months. People getting picked up, people with valid visa, people who are born here, people who have lived here since they were 4. I have friends who worry about what happens if they get picked up. They're planning what's going to happen to their wife, what's going to happen to their kids.
Is this time up? I'm sorry. We only got 30. I'm sorry. We got a lot of good questions over here, so I'm trying to get in as many as I can. Go ahead.
The consequences for our community are real. Families are being torn apart, and we need a mayor who will put themselves on the line. I stood up to J.D. Vance when he tried to scapegoat immigrants for the housing crisis. And I'm ready to fight. And I've always stood up to bullies, whether it was ICE, J.D. Vance, or anyone else who tries to harm this city. As mayor, I will ensure that Rochester remains a true sanctuary city, and that our policies are enforced with real accountability, not just empty promises. We can't afford leadership that backs down when it matters most.
Thank you.
We are a sanctuary city, and we have to stand behind the legality of being one. But again, we did not put pressure on our mayor to make sure that all of us are protected in the right way. And again, I encourage us that it's important, that these questions are important for us who are trying to come into office. But again, these are questions, and those who sponsored this event, I hope they ship these questions to Malik, and that the community hear his answers, and all those who are running for city council, that we hear their answers.
Thank you. Thank you. 30 seconds. What is your plan for police accountability? Do you support PAB? 30 seconds.
So I fought for the creation of the Police Accountability Board as a member of the PAB Alliance, and on council I fought to support it and protect it at every turn. Meanwhile, Mayor Evans will not even provide them with the evidence they need to complete their investigations, and he even sued to keep the information about their findings hidden from the public, undermining the will of the voters who demanded transparency. Now more than ever, we need real accountability. The Locust Club just won a court judgment weakening oversight An executive order threatened to give officers near total immunity, even arresting any elected official who stands in their way.
Okay, the PAB, yes. I'll support it, and I want the police department to be more transparent than what it is. There's a lot of things going on, especially with the young folks being arrested at the rate they're being arrested right now. Some of these children are actually being pulled off the streets for no reason. And police must be held accountable, as well as the judges and some of these lawyers that we have in this system too.
Next.
In its current form, I don't think it's effective. I think we've had a high increase in crime in our city ever since they put this in place. So currently, I don't support it.
Safety and accountability, they go together. So we want to keep our city safe. We want to be hard on crime, but we want police to be accountable. So I support the mission of PAB. Unfortunately, it's not working out. Judges has ruled that PAB doesn't have any teeth. So we have to figure out how do we keep police accountable.
I think more of the community needs to be a part of that process. I think the original idea of the PAB historically was different than what it's evolved to be today. But if I was mayor, I would want to take another look at that to involve more of our community. Because again, the pressure can't just come from a small group of people. Numbers matter when you want to make change. So I would want to hear from the community about how we could strengthen our involvement together in that process.
Just for clarity on the Police Accountability Board, there is a Police Accountability Board Alliance that is open to the community. So anybody that is interested in being a part of the process, they can certainly contact the PABA and be a part of it, and that's a large community table. Okay? So we are going to wrap this up because we are at our time. You're going to have 1 minute, and you can feel free to tell us and share with us in your 1 minute what it is that you want us to know. Okay? We'll start with the minister. Thank you.
June 24th is coming up for the primary. DeVay and the mayor of Rochester took me off of the Democratic line. Right. I'm asking this community if we can have 25,000 people write my name in June. We can have a new mayor. Secondly, I'm on the independent line. I have my petitions with me tonight. I have to get 1,500 names, which I will get. And I'll be on the ballot on the 24th and also for early voting. We have two opportunities to win. The write-in vote on the 24th of June, and then voting for me in November. I'm asking for 25,000 citizens to vote. Only 8% or 10% come out in June and November who decide who represents the community. I'm challenging us, 25,000 citizens. Vote for Minister Clifford Florence Sr., June 24th. November, I'll be on the independent line. I'll probably be on the bottom, so it'll be easy to find me. And don't forget my son is running for city council.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Minister. 1 minute.
My name is Mary Lupian. I'm running for mayor because I know our city deserves better. We deserve more than survival. We deserve to thrive. And I've spent my time on council fighting for the things that make our city safer. Guaranteed income, housing first, and community responders that show up with care. While others serve the status quo, I serve the people, because I know that real safety comes from stability, not just policing. Real growth comes from investing in our residents, not handing out corporate subsidies. We don't have time to wait for change to trickle down. We can build it from the ground up. And I'm not just asking for your vote. I'm asking for you to believe in what we can do when we lead with courage, compassion, and commitment to each other. So let's build a thriving Rochester that we know is possible when we invest in us.
I talked about 3 foundational pillars: safety, housing, and education. If you leave any of these 3 behind, the house crumbles. That is what we have seen for many, many years. This is the result of neglect and incompetence. So, we need to tackle all of these 3. We have to flip the script of how we do things. I will build 4,000 housing units for ownership, where people can have pride and stake in our city. I'm going to tackle RCSD. We don't have a choice. I'm going to be living in the living room saying that. I'm going to be holding them accountable. And for crime, yes, we're going to make police visible. We're going to put them where they are. We're going to be smart policing. So, there is hope. But time for small changes is over. Staying the course will get you exactly where we are. What I'm proposing is big and bold. I'm talking about economic revival of Rochester.
Thank you for your time in hosting this panel. My name again is Lou Sabo. I'm currently on the ballot for November election under the Conservative Party. I am petitioning to be on the independent line. Community First is the name of the party. And I would like your vote or your signature first and your vote in November. I believe in Rochester. Rochester has a lot of great potential, but we've had some big changes that have happened in the last 10, 15 years, and no one's addressed and come up with plans of how to revive our economy. We need jobs, we need opportunities. My goal is to make Rochester a thriving community that's favorable to jobs, better income, because bills do go up. The city is our taxes increase, our costs increase. Not attracting jobs is only a dead end for us.
Give yourselves a round of applause for coming here and enjoying with us, because tonight I learned a few new things and a lot of us learned some new friends. Now, to answer the question, the reason why I'm running for mayor, I can no longer sit on the sideline at 74 years old to watch the direction the city is actually heading into a very dangerous situation. Number one, and the main and most important reason why I'm running for mayor is the future of our children. We seem to forget all about them. Majority of us are baby boomers. And here goes the sad thing about this. We're going to leave the next generation worse off than we were. Our parents gave us something. We're not going to be able to leave nothing to our children if we keep going on this current railroad train to, I'm in a church, so just imagine the words that's in my mind. So in November, that's where I will be on the ballot. I avoided the Democratic crash machine, thank God for that one. And we need to make this be the last petition drive ever held in Rochester, New York. We changed everything else. With modern technology, we need to destroy this too.
All right, thank you. Thank you to all our mayoral candidates. Can we please give them a hand? Thank you so much. I apologize for all of the questions. We had a lot of questions. I wasn't able to get to all the questions. But we thank you all for coming out and for supporting this forum. May you go in peace.